Thank you. Welcome to BBC London. Coming up on the programme, the shared grief of two mothers who lost their sons to knife crime. How the mums of Kellyanne Bokassa and Dejourne Campbell are supporting each other through the most harrowing of times.
I was desperate to reach out to her in a way so that she knows she's not alone.
It comes as Greenwich Council confirms it will launch a child safeguarding review following Kellyanne's death. Also ahead. Scanner Code, the London hospital taking an unusual step to secure funding to expand its A&E. Plus.
Okay, do you require pizza delivery or do you require the police? If it's the police, say yes.
Yes.
The 999 call for pizza delivery that turned out to be an urgent plea for help. A call handler is praised for her quick thinking. And aerial acrobatics and spectacular stunts return to the Royal Albert Hall as Cirque du Soleil celebrates 40 years in the business. Hello and good evening to you. It is an unimaginable loss for any parent, and the mothers of two schoolboys killed in separate stabbings in South East London have spoken to BBC London of their shared grief. Only last week, 14-year-old Kellyanne Bokassa was fatally stabbed on a bus in Woolwich. Today, 3 people were arrested in connection with his death. In the same area in September last year, 15-year-old Dejourne Campbell was also stabbed to death. The two mums were brought together at a vigil last night where jointly they spoke exclusively to Frankie McCamley.
It's a pain no mother wants to feel, but the loss of their teenage sons to knife crime is something that's brought Jodie and Marie together. What's it like meeting each other?
In meeting Mary, I reached out to Mary. I met Kellyanne 2 weeks ago. He reached out to me and told me he wanted to drop me flowers.
Kellyanne was comforting Jodie Ann because her son, his friend Dejourne Campbell, was stabbed to death in September last year. He was 15. Last week, just 2 miles from that crime scene, another death. 14-year-old Kellyanne was stabbed in broad daylight on a bus. He died at the scene.
Mary, how do you feel meeting Jodie Ann and being offered that support?
I just look at her and I just thought, wow, you must be a very strong woman. And well, I realized she has no choice. You have to be strong. And I thank God to have sent you.
My strength is showing now.
Because I wouldn't know who to talk to when really I need that.
Knowing that Mary's going through exactly what I experienced, I was desperate to reach out to her in a way so that she knows she's not alone.
Kellyanne was taken into care at a young age.
He shouldn't have gone to care, but I accepted the judgment and thinking they could do better than me. Yes, I was a single mother. And yes, I was having a child who had difficulties, but he was a child.
She says those who promised to look after him failed.
He was let down. He can do whatever he wants and can get involved with whoever he wants.
Marie says Kellyanne was groomed in care. He joined a gang and got into drill music. Despite raising concerns, she says she was ignored.
I could see that he was angry. He couldn't cope anymore in care. He felt completely isolated. He felt he has to do something to save himself.
Jodie says she contacted the authorities about Dejourne. He was given a social worker, but believes she was never given the full picture.
That information wasn't shared with me until after his passing. Had I had known what was happening, I could have done more. I could have at least tried and do more for him. But they had all this information and they didn't share it.
It's an incredibly powerful thing to see you both together and helping each other. Is there something that you would like to say?
Instead of blaming the children for their own death on the streets, adults should start to open their eyes. No children should be blamed for his death.
Parents need to come together, communities need to come together, we all need to come together. Collaboration is the key word, and unity.
You're nodding, Marie.
Yeah, my son's death was preventable. And many children now, life can be saved.
As well as the criminal investigation, Greenwich Council says there will be a formal child safeguarding review into Kellyan's death involving his family to prevent another tragedy like this happening again. Frankie McCamley, BBC London.
And if you've been affected by the loss of a loved one and are dealing with grief, the BBC's Action Line service has a list of organisations that can help in confidence. You can see the address there, bbc.co.uk/Action Line. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday evening. Lots more to come tonight, including we meet the mum on a long road to recovery after contracting sepsis following the birth of her twins.
And find out why the Royal Albert Hall has been split in two. A little clue, the circus is in town.
Next, the East London Hospital urging patients to lobby their local MP for funding to help expand its under-pressure A&E department. Like many hospitals, Queen's in Romford is currently struggling with winter pressures, including a spike in cases of flu. It's taken the unusual step of asking patients waiting in corridors or being treated on trolleys to scan a QR code to request the government to act, as our health correspondent Carl Mercer explains.
This is what a quieter day looks like in the emergency department at Queen's Hospital in Romford. The scenes of patients being treated in corridors have become a pretty much everyday scene.
I've worked on the corridor so many times, countless times. Sometimes when you're allocated to come and work in the corridor, you'll be like, oh my God, not again. But at the end of the day, we just want to keep our patients safe, so we don't have any obligations than to work in the corridor. Actually, the joy in the job actually moves away from us, because it's like you're doing what you love, but then you're hating it, because at the end of the day, you are struggling to do your job and the patients are also struggling because they are not getting the maximum care they need from you.
But there's something new here too. Everywhere you look, posters with a QR code urging patients to lobby their MPs for the £35 million the hospital says it needs to build a new A&E. This one was built for 325 patients a day. It has been seeing, at least in December, up to 750.
Part of the concern we have is this is the third time you've come here to look at patients in corridors at Queen's Hospital. Over the last few years, we've unfortunately become more used to it. As the service has become busier and busier, and as we've made decisions like not keeping patients on ambulances, which is the right thing to do, that means we're looking after more people in spaces that aren't appropriate. And I'm not proud of the fact that we now can care for up to 50 people in corridors. I'm proud of the care we're delivering in the circumstances, but the fact is that far too many people are spending the night in places that they shouldn't be.
For now, getting through the corridors can be a challenge. There's not a lot of room here, making it more difficult for patients and staff.
Do you see a time anytime soon when there won't be corridor care?
I have hope, and I think that's what we have to have. I think people are working together to try and see what they can do to look for care in different ways for the patients. I mean, you'll have seen the patients we're seeing in our corridors. The majority of them are older patients, and I think it's about what we can do to keep care nearer to them and in their community, and how we have a slightly different response when they need support. I hope it will happen soon. You have to have hope, don't you? I'm positive about the future. Just maybe take a while longer than I'd like to get there.
Which is why the posters have gone up.
What we're trying to do is to make sure that as new capital money comes into the system, people are thinking about Queen's in Romford. They're thinking about the fact that this is a hospital that's now catering regularly for over twice as many patients as it was built for. Our staff deserve better and our residents deserve better.
But he knows he won't be the only chief exec taking such messages to government. Carl Mercer, BBC London.
Let's bring you a roundup now of some of the day's other news stories. A man has been charged with the murder of Michelle Sadio, who was shot dead outside a church in Holston in December. 18-year-old Tajin Somersil from Feltham has been charged with murder, plus 2 counts of attempted murder and possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. A 36-year-old man who was fatally stabbed in Haringey has been named as Gregory Castillo Bolquez. The father of 2 died after reports of a fight in the early hours of Monday morning. 3 men and a woman were arrested on suspicion of murder. They remain in custody. And new figures from the AA show the cost of fixing the vehicles it attended across the country is £579 million, a record high. Transport for London says it paid out more than £2 million in pothole compensation over the last 3 years. The government has pledged funding to fix 7 million of them. A woman who fell seriously ill with sepsis after giving birth to her twins in 2023 wants to raise awareness of the life-threatening condition. Dish from South East London was rushed to hospital after raising concerns more than once. After an induced coma and months of treatment, she had to have both her legs and an arm amputated. She's been speaking to Anna O'Neill, and I should say, you may find some of the details in her report upsetting.
I woke up from the coma and the sepsis had turned my body black. In that space of a week, all my limbs were dead.
This time 2 years ago, Dish was healthy and happy and looking forward to the imminent arrival of her twins. But soon after giving birth, she started to feel unwell and her life changed completely.
I was experiencing some stomach cramps, vomiting, diarrhoea, shivering, and not being able to eat, just generally not feeding myself. So by day 5, it was like, I can't do this anymore. I need some sort of medical attention. And my normal gut instinct would be to call 111, but something in my brain was saying, no, this is an ambulance emergency.
Sepsis is a serious complication of an infection. Symptoms include chills, confusion or delirium, fever or low body temperature, lightheadedness, rapid heartbeat, skin rash or mottled skin, warm skin. Without quick treatment, sepsis can lead to multiple organ failure and death. For Dish, it meant being put into an induced coma for a week. When she came round, things would never be the same.
My hands and feet were underneath the blanket, and then when Sean moved the blanket, I saw my hands literally curved up like a claw, but like frozen. And they were black with they just look very skinny. And then my legs up until my knees were flaking with black scarring. And my feet were someone had burnt them.
The sepsis led to the amputation of her feet, left hand, and the fingers of her right hand.
Definitely a living nightmare, definitely. But there's always there's a silver lining in every situation. She's here, she gets to be a mother at the end of the day. So that's the main thing.
The family is hoping to raise £50,000 to help Dish through this tough time, and she wants to raise awareness so that no one else has to go through the same thing. Anna O'Neill, BBC London.
And we wish the whole family well. Now wait until you see this. An emergency call handler has been praised by the Metropolitan Police for their quick thinking in the way they handled a 999 call from a woman in danger. When the voice on the phone appeared to order a pizza, it soon became clear that it was a coded message for something far worse. Matt Graveling has the story.
Hello, police. What's the emergency?
Pizza delivery.
This unusual 999 call for pizza could have been seen as a prank, if not for the quick thinking of a call handler.
Pizza delivery. Okay, do you require pizza delivery or do you require the police? If it's the police, say yes.
Yes.
Okay, is the person that's scaring you at the property now?
Yes.
If he threatened to hurt you, tell me pepperoni. If he threatened to hurt the children, tell me cheese.
Pepperoni.
This clip, which has had the caller voiced by an actor, has been posted to social media by the Metropolitan Police in an attempt to help anyone else who wants to call 999 but feels in danger to speak.
Keeping a separate room from him for the moment, all right? If I stay on the phone any longer, it will look suspicious if you're calling for a pizza, okay?
The Metropolitan Police gave this advice for making a silent 999 call if you're in danger. Try to speak to the operator if you can, even by whispering, but you may be asked to cough or tap phone keys to answer questions. If the call is from a mobile phone, pressing 55 will transfer to the police, who will usually be able to find your location. And if the call is from a landline, if the operator can only hear background noise, they will transfer your call to the police.
Okay. Police will be with you very soon.
It's hoped that by posting this one call, it could now go on to help many others. Matt Graveling, BBC London.
OK, to football now, and the North London derby where the stakes are high. Arsenal need a win to keep themselves in the Premier League title race, but are likely to get no favours from arch rivals Tottenham. Our sports reporter Chris Legg is at the Emirates for us this evening, and Chris, fair to say, it'll have to go some way to beat the drama of last night's games.
It really will, Riz, but these matches rarely let us down for drama and entertainment, and Arsenal really need the win to get themselves right back in that title race, to move themselves ahead of surprise package Nottingham Forest and to within 4 points of the leaders Liverpool. For Tottenham, well, they are desperate to turn around their poor run of form, just one win in their last 8 Premier League games, but as you say, it is really going to have to go some to match last night. Goals flying in left, right and centre, the length and breadth of the capital, and we can look back at the best of some of that action now, starting with some FA Cup magic at Brisbane Road.
Pressure on young shoulders. This to set up a tie with Manchester City. It's Obiro, and it's in! And it's Orient who progress.
What a moment for 19-year-old Zach Obiro as Leyton Orient beat Derby to secure a dream FA Cup tie against Premier League champions Manchester City.
It's unbelievable. You can see it in the video, the emotions that are running through me, the team. Because we're such a tight team, we're such a close team, so everyone was just buzzing for me, the gaffer, staff, everyone. It's an amazing feeling.
Another hero of the cup run has been goalkeeper Josh Keeley. He saved a penalty in the first round, scored a goal in the second round, and then pulled off more penalty heroics last night.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. As a person as well, but yeah, his talent is undeniable. The things he's done, even during the game, some people don't know, but he's pulled out great saves in many games that's kept us in it. So, yeah, he's a great talent.
The League One O's will be huge underdogs when Pep and the Man City millionaires rock up at Brisbane Road at the start of February. West to East London, where Graham Potter's first Premier League game as West Ham boss could hardly have gone better. The Hammers and Fulham traded blows in a 5-goal thriller, but it was West Ham who came out on top, winning 3-2. And at Stamford Bridge, Reece James marked his latest comeback from injury with a delightful 95th minute free kick to rescue Chelsea, a 2-2 draw against Bournemouth. High drama right throughout the capital on Tuesday. Will we get more in North London tonight?
Yeah, fingers crossed for a great game here tonight, but neither team are in great form at the moment. Tottenham embarrassed at the weekend, really, weren't they? Pushed to extra time in the FA Cup by Tamworth, non-league Tamworth, before scraping through. And Arsenal suffered a tough day here at the Emirates as they went out of the FA Cup on penalties to Manchester United. The atmosphere has just fallen a bit flat here over the last few weeks after a terrific start to the season. And manager Mikel Arteta says it's down to the team tonight to get the fans behind them from the very start.
Let's create the best atmosphere that the Emirates have seen. This is something that is in our hand. If we want, we're going to create it. We don't depend on anybody. So what we're going to try with the players and the staff is that we are the first ones to embrace that, and hopefully they will follow us.
I'm preparing for a game that, you know, Arsenal are going to be at their best, and if Arsenal are going to be at their best, we're going to have to be ready for that. If we go into a game thinking that maybe they're just not at it, then I think you fall into a trap of not preparing in the right way.
Yeah, both both the managers know exactly what a win would mean to their fans tonight. Arsenal are the favourites. They beat Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium back in September. They've won 6 of the last 8 North London derbies in the Premier League. They could make it 3 North London League wins in a row for the first time since the 1980s. Both teams have a lengthy injury list, but it should be a cracker nonetheless. And you can see highlights tonight on Match of the Day, BBC One at 22:11. Riz.
Yeah, a big night in North London, as you say. Chris, thanks very much. Chris Legg there. From fancy footwork to jaw-dropping acrobatics and spectacular stunts, it can only be Cirque du Soleil, which is celebrating 40 years in the business. And to mark that milestone, the circus troupe is returning to the Royal Albert Hall with a production of Corteo. Our reporter Bhavani Vadi can tell us more.
Swinging back into the capital, Cirque du Soleil returns to the Royal Albert Hall, and one of the acrobats is coming back to perform in the city of his birth. Sean Gregory competed for 10 years in Team GB in a sport called tumbling, when he made a big jump to the big top.
It's nice to be able to showcase your skills every day, as opposed to when you're doing competition gymnastics. You seem to wait a few years until a big competition comes up, and there's lots of training and lots of preparation involved, you know. But here now, I kind of prefer to work at the circus because we can do the similar skills, you know, but we can do them every day. For me, I always watched Cirque du Soleil when I was a child. Actually, I seen my first show here at the Hall, probably maybe more than 15 years ago, you know. And ever since I watched that show here at the Hall, I always wanted to join the circus. I always wanted to be a part of Cirque du Soleil. And when I was 18 years old, that dream came true.
So you ran away to join the circus?
Exactly.
These are the final rehearsals ahead of the premiere tonight of Corteo, which has toured 22 countries over the last 19 years. The show brings together circus skills, comedy and awe-inspiring aerial acrobatics. This is Cirque du Soleil's 40th anniversary and nearly 30 years since it started its annual residency at one of London's most iconic venues. This is the first time that the Royal Albert Hall has been split in two, with each half of the audience facing each other across this central stage, giving them a unique perspective of the circus acts.
The big advantage that it has is that everybody is much closer. Usually when the stage is just in one corner of the hall, if you're sitting on the other side, you are fairly far away. But because of this particular setup, everybody is much closer. What we're also doing, we're giving the audience a bit the perspective of the performer. When you're on stage, you're constantly facing the audience.
This is also the heaviest show the company has brought to the venue, with 67 tons suspended from the grid. That's the equivalent of 11 elephants hanging from the ceiling. The show runs until March. Bhavani Vadi, BBC London.
Wow. And following those spectacular stunts is the lovely Louise Lear with a check on the weather. And it felt a bit like it couldn't quite make up its mind. Can I use the word miserly?
It was a bit, wasn't it? A bit grey, a bit drab. We had to rely on household cavalry for a little bit of brightness today because the cloud was pretty stubborn in places. Actually, it returned as well through the afternoon, turning pretty misty and murky, and we could see more fog overnight tonight. This was East Croydon, as you can see, just a couple of hours ago. So quite quiet after last week's chaotic theme, mild as well for all of us. So as we go through the night tonight, don't expect any significant changes. Quite a lot of cloud around, murky at times, misty, foggy. The cloud has been thick enough for a touch of drizzle. It's going to be a damp start to tomorrow morning, but on the whole, temperatures will be above freezing. Winds very light indeed, and that's not going to shift that cloud around that much. The fog will lift, low grey cloud lingers for much of the day, maybe some brightness into the afternoon, but I'm really being as optimistic as I can. Quite a lot of cloud as we go through the day, and temperatures will gradually pick up to around 7 to 9 degrees. Now, as we move out to Friday and into the start of the weekend, the high pressure is going to drift off into the near continent and the wind direction is going to change subtly. It'll stay light, but a little bit more of a southerly and eventually a little bit more of a southeasterly. So maybe there is a greater chance perhaps of the cloud breaking up on Friday and seeing some brightness into the afternoon, 6 to 8 degrees the high. Once the wind direction swings round to more of a southeasterly for the start of the weekend, it's going to stay dry, it's going to stay quiet, but it will turn that little bit cooler. So certainly you'll need to bear that in mind. Could be, once again, a little bit of a shock to the system. Not quite as extreme as we had last week, but nevertheless, let's look ahead. And as you can see, Saturday, fog could be an issue. If that lingers, the temperatures will struggle just a touch. Again, the temperature's down a little at the weekend, but then returning back to around 7 or 8 degrees. Not that much in the way of significant rain in the future, actually. So it looks likely that as we go into next week and potentially beyond as well, it stays largely fine and dry. Riz.
Oh, it's good to hear. Thanks, Lou. And that is it. Thanks for watching. More on our website, including as Art on the Underground celebrates 25 years. Check out some of the works showcased in that time. From all of us here, do have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.